It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well, just
let me just let me
give me an
I know
example.
how committed you are to this, and it must be hard for you to spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong.
It's just simple mathematics, President Trump.
Yeah, it is, but not the way you figure it. I was always very good at mathematics. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong.
You're trying to...
He will then follow it up by saying, sir, it would be an honor to stay with the reserve currency. That's not even chess, that's checkers.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we are going to be watching Donald Trump absolutely slay a smug British reporter on economics and international relations. And this is one of my favorite debates of the entire year because Donald Trump clearly does not like this guy. And later on in the video, we find out exactly why. And it is in the realm of economics and policy, which is Trump's wheelhouse. And Trump is absolutely on fire, which completely dispels the idea put forth by the Democrats this year that Trump is in some way not sharp anymore.
Losing his marbles at an alarming rate. Having someone with his mental state, to me, is terrifying.
I mean, they can try and nitpick 2 seconds here and there, but it is just so clear that he and Kamala Harris are just not in the same universe. She could never do an interview like this, which is now even more clear by the disastrous CNN town hall that she just did.
Why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
So without further ado, let's get into the first part about Trump's economic plan.
You talked a lot about tariffs. You look at the American economy, 40 million jobs rely on trade. It accounts for 27% of GDP.
Okay.
If you cut that off, that's also going to have an effect on many, many business people here.
Yeah.
Tariffs also have another side. Isn't that something that you have to acknowledge?
No.
You could be plunging America into the biggest trade war since Smoot-Hawley.
But there are no tariffs.
You're going to stop. There are tariffs already at the moment.
There are no tariffs. All you have to do is build your plant in the United States and you don't have any tariffs.
But people, a lot of places like this, there are a lot of jobs that rely on foreigners coming here. You're going to basically stop trade with China. You're talking about 60% tariffs on that. You're talking, as you said, 100, 200% on things you don't really like. You're also talking about 10, 20% tariffs on the rest of the world. That is going to have a serious effect on the overall economy. And yes, you're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive in terms of the economy.
I agree it's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well,
let me just I know how committed you are to this, and it must be hard for you to spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong.
40 million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on.
They're all coming back.
Those are 40 million jobs. Those are 40 million jobs in America that rely on trade.
Are you ready? John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened
they're
them with
also
tariffs
build.
And they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here, and I'll keep John Deere will stay here. You know what's very tough? European Union, our beautiful European countries, wonderful, wonderful. If you add them up, they're almost the size of us. They treat us so badly. We have a deficit. I said to Angela Merkel when she was there, she's not there anymore, I wonder why, but when she was there, I said, Angela, how many Chevrolets do we have in Berlin? Why, Donald, you have none. He said, that's right. How many Fords do we have in Frankfurt? I don't know, none. I said, that's right. You know how many cars we have? Mercedes-Benz and BMW and all of the different Volkswagen, millions and millions of cars. And then I said, farm products. They don't want our farm products. They don't want anything from us. We have deficits that are crazy, and we're not going to have them anymore. We're going to put tariffs on them, and they're going to do, and you know what they can do? The Mercedes-Benz will start building in the United States, and they have a little bit, but you know what they really are? Assembly, like in South Carolina. But they build everything in Germany, and then they assemble it here. They get away with murder because they say, oh, yes, we're building cars. They don't build cars. They take them out of a box and they assemble them. We could have our child do it.
Can we come back? Let's come back to the Europeans in a second. What about consumers? People out there.
They're going to be the biggest beneficiary.
Yeah, critics say your tariffs will end up being like a national sales tax.
No.
Because if you have America at the moment has $3 trillion worth of imports. You're going to add tariffs to every single one of them. That is going to push up the cost for all those people who want to buy foreign goods.
No, what's going
That is
to
just
happen-
simple mathematics, President Trump.
It's not. Yeah, it is, but not the way you figured. I was always very good at mathematics.
Yes.
Let me tell you, you're saying $3 trillion.
That's $3 trillion worth of imports.
And they don't have to pay. And if, by the higher the tariff, the more likely it is to have them come into the
higher the tariff, the more you're going to put on the value of that piece, those goods, the higher people are going to have to pay in shops.
Ready? The higher the tariff, the more likely it is that the company will come into the United States and build a factory in the United States so it doesn't have to pay the tariff.
That will take many, as you know, that will take many years.
In fact, I'll tell you, you know, there's another theory is that the tariff, you make it so high, so horrible, so obnoxious that they'll come right away. When I do the 10%, 10% is really, first of all, 10% when you collect it is hundreds of billions of dollars. The numbers that you're talking, all reducing our deficit. But really, so there's two ways of looking at a tariff. You can do it as a money-making instrument, or you can do it as something to get the companies. Now, if you want the companies to come in, the tariff has to be a lot higher than 10%, because 10% is not enough. Guys, they're not going to do it for 10. But you make a 50% tariff, they're going to come in.
So this has been a point of contention in terms of Trump's economic plan. The implementation of tariffs. They've been saying that Donald Trump doesn't know what tariffs are. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And the American manufacturers pay for the tariffs and the American consumers pay for the tariffs. But they don't bring up the immense benefit to bringing back manufacturing to the United States. But before we break all of that down, I want to introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, Ground News. In today's media landscape, staying informed and avoiding propaganda is genuinely very difficult. And with so many misleading narratives, how can we trust the news? Well, let me introduce you to Ground News, your go-to app and website that gathers tens of thousands of articles and sources from around the globe, all in one place. Now, every morning, my first point of call is to go to Ground News and see what's happening around the world. And my favorite feature is the blind spot feature. This allows you to see which stories are not being reported by left, right, and center. As you can see here, perfect example, Democrat Bob Casey embraces Trump trade in new Senate ad, being reported 0% by the left and center. I wonder why the left wanted to stifle that story. Furthermore, we can see Trump leading Harris in all major swing state polling averages as campaign hits home stretch. And when we click into these stories, we can see how they're being reported by left, if they're being reported at all, center, and right. And guys, I've been using Ground News for years, since way before I ever had a single YouTube subscriber, and when I was going through a blonde phase. Here's the proof from 2021. An interesting one that I follow is called Ground News. And just to sweeten it, Ground News are offering a massive 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what I use for Rattlesnake TV viewers. So all you got to do is hit that QR code on the screen right here, or go to ground.news/rattlesnake. That's ground.news/rattlesnake, and stay armed and dangerous with a comprehensive news diet. Let's get back to the video. Up until the early 1980s, America was a manufacturing powerhouse, and American-made goods were the gold standard of the entire world. Since the country was sold out, however, it's not just that the quality of everything is cheaper and shittier, it has also had a profound effect on the morale of the country. Places like Detroit and Flint, Michigan that used to be thriving automobile manufacturing hubs are now wastelands and completely depressed. And this is not just a matter of, yeah, we lose a few jobs here and there, but we get heaps of cheap shit from China. No, this sort of thing actually tears at the fabric of the country. It destroys the soul and the identity of what America is. And the evidence of this is absolutely everywhere. You just drive around certain parts of America and you can see it. There is a real sense of demoralization in the air, and I believe that that's why so many people adore Trump. It's because for the first time in 40-odd years, they believe that there is a president that actually wants to fight for them. And there's a lot more to this, but I digress. So let's continue with the exchange now about international relations.
I was asking about tariffs. You've gone off about that. Seeing you brought up tariffs and foreign policy, many people would say the biggest problem with your tariffs is actually geopolitics. You, in your first term, you got some credit for effectively saying that there was a Cold War against China. That's what America was in. You look at the last Cold War against the Soviet Union, America won it in part because it rallied allies to it. You're talking about slamming allies with 30%, 20% tariffs. isn't this time you're going to end up trying to rally the West and you're dividing it instead? Isn't that the real problem with tariffs, even beyond all the problems due to the economy, where you keep on bringing up these individual examples, but the overall effect is going to be dramatic?
No, the overall
answer
effect will be-
first about foreign policy.
Yeah, I'll do that.
How does it help you take on China,
helps
turning all your allies against you?
Tremendously, because China thinks we're a stupid country, a very stupid country. They can't believe that somebody finally got wise to them. Not one president, Bush, Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, have you heard of him? Not one president, think of it, not one president charged China anything. They said, oh, they are a third world nation, they are developing. Well, we're a developing nation too. Take a look at Detroit. Take a look at our cities. We're a developing nation. We have to develop more than they do. We're way behind them. You take a look at what's happened to our cities. So what I'm saying is
my question was about your allies, not about China. You are going to annoy the people you need to rally behind you.
But our allies have taken advantage of us more so than our enemies. Our allies are the European Union. We have a trade deficit of $300 billion with the European Union. Our allies are Japan. You know, Abe was a very good friend of mine. He was a great guy, great. And I said to him in Japan, he was assassinated. And he was a great man. He really was. I didn't see too many like him. And he got very sick and he had to take off. And then he was actually making a comeback. He was going to make a comeback and he would have won easily. But he was a great gentleman, handsome, wonderful man, respected by everybody. And I went to him and I said, Shinzo, we have to talk. What? Trade. And he goes, I'll never forget it. I know. I said, what do you know? I knew you'd come to me. Why do you say that? Because I can't believe, I wouldn't tell the story if he was alive, actually. Said, I can't believe how many years it's been that nobody even negotiated with us in America. I said, Shinzo, you have to pay for your cars. You're sending millions of cars. You don't accept a car from us. You don't have one car that you accept, and yet we're selling 3 million, 4 million of your cars. I said, Shinzo, on agriculture, you won't even accept our agriculture. And I renegotiated the whole trade deal from a little disadvantage because I was stuck with a bad deal. I mean, we have trade deals that were so bad that I said, who are the people that are doing it? They're either very stupid or they're getting paid off, okay? It's one or the other. It's very simple. We have the worst trade deals all over the world. South Korea, I love South Korea. They're wonderful people, extremely ambitious. They have a money machine. We protect them from North Korea and other people. North Korea is very nuclear. I got along with him very well, Kim Jong-un.
Yes.
But wait, they don't pay us anything. And I said, this is crazy. If I didn't put tariffs on, you know, the motor companies, the car companies, they make most of their money at small trucks. I put tariffs on China, but I put 27.5%. Otherwise, we'd be flooded with Chinese cars. And all of our factories would close. We'd have no jobs at all in the auto industry. That goes for electric, by the way, which is a killer, which I've explained, and I don't think I have to bore anybody by talking about it. But I put tariffs on South Korea because they were sending in trucks. And I put tariffs on, fairly substantial tariffs. Do you know that our car companies make almost all of their money with the small trucks, SUVs and small trucks? If I took those tariffs on, you would be inundated. Every car company would be out of business. And I got calls from Ford. I got calls from everybody saying, sir, I can't believe you're doing this for us. You saved our company. They make all their money with this. They make most of their money with the small truck and, you know, the SUVs.
Many consumers ended up with more expensive cars. But let me just come at you on foreign policy.
You wouldn't have a car company.
You have said that Taiwan should pay for U.S. protection.
Yeah.
I ask because this morning you just mentioned North Korea. The Chinese army, literally as we speak, are engaged in rehearsals for a full naval blockade of Taiwan. So I suppose my question to you, if China invades Taiwan, would you send American troops to defend it?
Well, the reason they're doing it now is they're not going to do it afterwards, okay? So it's, you know, so they're doing it now. They want to do it China. Now, look, I had a very I had a
So that
very good
would-
relationship with President Xi, and a
that
very
was
good
the-
relationship with Putin, and a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un, who has a nuclear force that you won't even believe. And by the way, today it was announced for those that he just blew up the railroad going into South Korea. That means South Korea is now cut off from Russia and China and various other places. Cut off by rail.
President Trump, you just mentioned.
No, but
Putin.
these are big things. I have to mention them.
Yeah, you just mentioned Putin, though, and this
Yeah.
has been this controversy of the past week. Can you say yes or no whether you have talked to Vladimir Putin since you stopped being president?
Well, I don't comment on that, but I will tell you that if I did, it's a smart thing. If I'm friendly with people, if I have a relationship with people, that's a good thing, not a bad thing, in terms of a country. He's got 2,000 nuclear weapons, and so do we. China has a lot less, but they'll catch us within 5 years.
That sounds very
If I
much
have a
like that sounds very much
relationship-
like
I don't
you
talk about-
did talk
I
to
don't
him.
talk about. No, I don't talk about that.
You
I don't-
talk about
I don't
talking
ever
to
say it.
Netanyahu. You talk
But I
about
can tell
talking
you
to
what,
these people.
Russia has never had a president that they respect so much, but more importantly, or less importantly, I guess, I went into Russia and people said, oh, he likes Putin and Putin likes him. Let me tell you, the first thing I did was terminated Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2. It's a pipeline from Russia to Germany and all over Europe. I said, wait a minute, to NATO. I said, so let's get this straight. My first meeting, I said, so Putin's building the biggest pipeline in the world. He's going to Germany, but all over Europe. And you're paying him billions of dollars a year, billions of dollars a month. Germany's paying billions of dollars a month. And we're supposed to protect you against the guy that you're paying all this money to. So is there something wrong with my thinking? So he's building a pipeline to Germany, and we're spending, and by the way, until I got there, we were spending almost 100% for NATO because we had all these delinquent countries. They weren't paying. When I got there, I said, you know what? And by the way, my biggest fan is Stoltenberg, just leaving, Secretary General of NATO. He said, when Bush came in, he made a speech and left. When Obama came in, he made a speech and left. When Trump came in, he made a speech and he said, let me see your books. And I found out in the books that nobody was paying. There were only 7 countries that were paying. We were supporting NATO. They screw us on trade so bad, the European nations. And then on top of that, they were screwing us on the military. So they're taking a tremendous advantage of us, $350 billion on trade, and we're then supporting them. In other words, it's not sustainable. You can't keep doing this. You can't have that, China, all of these countries. And stupid people made these deals. I saw trade deals that were so stupid that you'd have to be, that was so bad that you'd have to be an idiot to sign them. And we signed them for years. I could tell you trade deals that I have never seen anything. I said, who would agree to this? They had to be corrupt. They had to be corrupt. To make those deals, they had to be corrupt because there is no way a rational human being, I always say either corrupt or extremely stupid, because there's no way a rational human being would ever sign the trade deals that this country signed.
So the way that Donald Trump talks about foreign allies and adversaries, for that matter, is so different to the way that the Democrats talk about them, or any other politician really, for that matter. And this is very important. Notice that he always starts with a compliment. He'll say, the South Koreans, very smart people.
South Korea, I love South Korea. They're wonderful people, extremely ambitious.
But I made them pay. He'll say, Vladimir Putin, I've got a great relationship with Putin, great relationship with Zelensky, but the war never would have started on my watch because basically they wouldn't mess with me. And you compare this with the Democrats who will beat their chest and act tough, but then do absolutely nothing.
We had sanctions before the actual invasion. We threatened sanctions to hopefully deter Russia from going in. So we basically, like if you're a parent and you tell your children, well, if you do this, the punishment is going to be that, right? And we hope that by doing that, it will deter our children from doing the wrong thing, right? So that's deterrent.
You see, Trump understands the art of war. He's spent his entire professional career scrapping with New York property developers and government bureaucrats and other high-end business people to get the best result.
It's Donald Trump, and I'm the largest real estate developer in New York.
Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, however, are swamp creatures who have spent their entire career appeasing donors and doing whatever they can to move up the political power rankings. So, I mean, like Donald Trump said, whoever made those deals must be very stupid or being paid off. I mean, what other explanation is there for a country that is hemorrhaging debt, involved in multiple wars around the world by proxy, suffering from inflation and a cost of living crisis, for them to be getting constantly screwed by all of their allies and their adversaries, and for their position as global reserve currency to be challenged when they're meant to be the greatest superpower to ever exist? It does not make any sense, and you don't have to be an economist or a political scientist to notice. Anyways, on to the next part now, where they talk about the US dollar and its position as the global reserve currency.
You're going to mention Taiwan. You wanted to mention Taiwan.
No, you mentioned Taiwan. You said you would defend them. You also seemed to imply that on Putin, you would not. Putin, you seemed to imply that you had talked to him without actually confirming it.
I said I don't comment on those things.
What about, can I ask you a particular thing about the dollar? You talked about wars. At the New York Economic Club, you said that if you lost the dollar as a reserve currency, it would be like America losing a war.
Yeah.
You look at what you're going to do in terms of protectionism, drive countries to use the other currencies, and all that debt is also going to lessen the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. You worry about that.
The dollar is so secure, your reserve currency is the strongest it'll ever be. And
you say that, President Trump. At the moment, there is a thing called the Trump trade in the markets. Do you know what that is? The Trump trade is very simple. People are betting that your policies are going to drive up debt, they're going to drive up inflation, so they're going to drive up interest rates. Are the investors wrong?
Yeah, I had 4 years no inflation. I had 4 years no inflation.
But the issue at the moment, the markets are looking at the fact you are making all these promises. Latest one was car loans. You're flooding the thing with giving giveaways.
But
I was actually quite kind to you. I used 7 trillion. The upper estimate is 15 trillion. People like the Wall Street Journal, who's hardly a communist organization,
yeah, but you don't know.
They have criticized you on this as well. You are running up enormous debt.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You're
trying to turn this. You've
been wrong.
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people. There are business people.
You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff. You've been wrong. No, let me tell you about currency. You're going jumping a lot of different subjects.
Well, you're sticking to the subject very closely.
Stick to the reserve currency. That's where you started, right? The reserve currency is under threat. Because you have Iran, you have Russia, you have China. China's the one that you have to worry about because they want it.
Yeah.
They want to have the yuan be the thing of power. So here's what I'm doing. Again, I hate to go back to it. If somebody says, and I know countries want to get out because they don't respect our leadership. They look at this guy, they say, you got to be kidding. And she's worse than him. By the way, I never thought I'd say this. She is not as smart as Biden, if you can believe. This is not what we had 4 years of this lunacy, and we can't have it anymore. We're not going to have a country left. Okay, currency, very important.
Yes.
And if you want to go to third world, status, lose your reserve currency. We have to have that. We cannot lose it. If you'll go to third world status in this country because you take a look at the way things are running. If a country tells me, sir, we like you very much, but we're going to no longer adhere to being in the reserve currency. We're not going to salute the dollar anymore. I'll say, that's okay. And you're going to pay a 100% tariff on everything you sell into the United States. And we love your product. I hope you sell a lot of it into the United States, but you're going to pay 100% tariff. He will then follow it up by saying, sir, it would be an honor to stay with the reserve currency. That will be like just playing. That's not even chess, that's checkers. But you don't have listen to this. You don't have other people that can talk that way. You know, a lot of people say, we love Trump's policy, but we would like to have another messenger because we don't like him. He's a little bit crass. And then, actually, it was Lindsey Graham, I must say. He was a progressive, in all fairness. But Lindsey Graham said, but Trump's policy doesn't work without Trump. And there's a lot of truth to that. Macron was going to, nice guy, Emmanuel, He's a wise guy, but he's for France, and we're for the USA. You know this story. He was going to tax American companies doing business in France, a very substantial tax. And I told my people, I didn't even like the companies, but I'm representing American companies. And so I said, call Macron and call his people and say, we're not going to stand for that. And I got Mnuchin and, a lot of guys, smart guys, if I can finish.
Yeah.
I'll go longer if you want.
No, I was going to ask you about the Federal Reserve.
You got to be able to finish a thought, because it's very important. This is big stuff we're talking about. You can't go that quickly.
You've gone from the dollar to
So let me just tell you. So I said, no, I'm just telling you basic, it's called the weave. It's all these different things happening.
Yeah.
So let me just say, so I said to Mnuchin, call him up and say, no way. He did, and he came back to see me. He said, they won't do it, sir, it's too late. I said to somebody else, you call him. Then I said, let me do it. And I called him. And I said, Emmanuel, you're taxing American companies very substantially. You're not doing it with other companies. You must think we're stupid. It's not going to happen. But Donald, I cannot do anything. It's too late. Or it was approved by a legislature. I said, that's okay. Here's the story. Every bottle of wine and champagne that you send into the United States, effective immediately, and I'm signing it as I speak, I'm charging you 100% on every bottle of wine and champagne. They like the wine and champagne, right? Every bottle of wine and champagne that comes into the United States of America has a tax on, starting on Monday morning, this was a Friday, of 100%. And that's better than you're doing, okay? And he said, no, you cannot do that. I said, I've done it. It's already signed. Monday morning goes, may I call you back? Yes, he calls me back in about 3 minutes. We have decided to remove the tax from the conference. I did this all day long, but you don't have. You think Biden does that? I don't think so.
So first of all, guys, I have to commend Donald Trump on his impersonations of Angela Merkel and President Macron, because before this interview, I did not realize that they were the exact same people.
Angela, how many Chevrolets do we have in Berlin? Why, Donald, you have none. And I said, Emmanuel, you must think we're stupid. It's not going to happen. But Donald, I cannot do anything. It's too late.
Anyways, just a complete demolition derby here. And I want us all to just take a quick step back and have a think for a moment about how Kamala Harris would fare in this type of interview. Talking about economics, international relations, how to protect American industry, and giving a robust analysis and debate about the various trade agreements that America has around the world. How do you think she would fare?
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine.
What would happen is that she would be like a fish out of water and start just having orange man bad spasms. I mean, I doubt that she even has the remotest idea about what the petrodollar is and why it is a statement of fact when Donald Trump says that if the United States were to lose its position as the global reserve currency, they would enter third world status. And the way that they would do that is by disenfranchising other global superpowers like China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia, not fostering diplomatic relations, and being aggressive towards them, which will ultimately push them into each other's arms, which has happened. We've seen the rise of the BRICS alliance over the last few years: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And the express goal of this alliance is to kick the United States off its perch as global reserve currency. So there's the old saying of keep your friends close and your enemies closer, and that absolutely applies to politics, and it absolutely applies to whoever is the president of the United States. But that's only if your goal is actually to strengthen your country and avoid World War III. Not so obvious for everyone. Anyways, guys, you can find my links all below. If you guys would like to like the video, that would be fantastic. Subscribe to the channel right here. And if you'd like to watch another one, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous. Quick reminder, guys, don't forget to smash that like button. It does very much help me. And also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, if you're getting value from this, you're more than welcome to do so. Back to the video.